Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yep.
So this hand was played, it's 2-5 in Resorts World Catskills. So it's 2-5, 1,000 cat buy-in.
All right. And is it the biggest game that runs?
Yeah, that runs regularly. They have 5-10 like once in a while, maybe once a week, once in 2 weeks. In the
Mm-hmm.
summer they have it often, but on a regular basis, this is the biggest game.
Okay.
Okay, so we're playing 2-5. I'm 10,080 effective, 1080
Okay.
effective.
Yep.
And okay, so the faults to MP1, he opens to 20, and it faults to me in the hijack, to hero in the hijack.
Mm-hmm.
We make it 80 with King of Diamonds, King of Clubs.
King of Diamonds, King of Clubs. Okay.
Okay, fold
Yep.
around to the buttons, and the button cold calls 80.
So we have another cold call 3-bet, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there was a lot of cold calling in that game, a lot
Yep.
of just passive play in that game.
Mm.
It's probably typical for 2-5, but in that game in particular, there's a lot of calling happening. People weren't folding.
Yep.
And so it falls back to the original Razor MP1, so he also calls, he completes.
So like 240 or so to the
So
flop,
it's
right?
240 to the
Yep.
flop. The flop comes nine of spades,
Mm-hmm.
five of hearts, four of hearts.
Nine of spades, five of hearts, four of hearts. Okay.
So the first position, the MP1 checks,
Yeah.
and we see bet 160, two-thirds pot.
So this is another one too that was similar to the previous call where it's like it's kind of an interesting dynamic of a cold call here. It's a cold call of a 3-bet, which kind of weights people towards pairs, but you don't have aces. So some people could call with, ace high. Fours and fives really shouldn't be all that represented here. I suppose MP1 could overcall here after opening. So I might tend to use a little bit of a smaller sizing to get called by some ace highs or some of the weaker holdings, different from the last hand here. It's probably pretty close. I mean, you don't have to build all that much either. You only started at 1,080. 2/3. Well, you don't have the king of hearts in your hand. I mean, it's
No, I don't block the draws. Even though
it,
there's a flush draw out there, you'd go smaller.
well, I don't know how influential the flush draw should be in this particular situation, unless you're just saying that like these guys are just like cold calling a 3-bet is like them calling a single raise. You know?
No, but I'm thinking all the suited broadways, like ace jack, ace queen, ace king, queen 10 suited, all the hearts combos of broadways.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely yeah. I mean that's definitely some there's something to be said for that. I think when in doubt, sort of the wider people play, you can't go wrong by betting
Yeah,
larger
so
if
I've
they're
I've
playing.
seen people call three bets there with queen 10,
Hmm.
with 10 jack. Like I've
Yeah.
seen people were very wide calling three bets, so
Okay.
I took that into consideration.
So 2/3. Okay,
So
160.
we bet two-thirds, and
Yep.
we get two calls. The button calls and MP1 calls, which
Wow.
was very surprising.
Now the prevalence of somebody slow playing here, like say for example, MP1 has 9-9 or 5-5 or 4-4. It would be rare, I would say, at this to have a slow play now that the pot's getting large, right?
Exactly.
You
Right.
know,
And it's a draw heavy board and
yeah,
multi-way.
right, exactly.
So I
So
was thinking MP1, if he has any kind of a hand, he has to raise like a set, or I don't
so
know, two
he
pairs
either
not
has
really
a draw or
possible, but
he's holding on with like tens, jacks, queens, something like
jacks,
that.
queens, exactly. So I
Yeah,
was thinking tens, jacks, queens, or some sort of draw, like
yeah.
between both of them.
Okay, so 720 to the
Um,
turn, nine spades, five of hearts, four of hearts, and you've got king of diamonds, king of clubs
yeah,
on
so
in.
it's 720.
Okay,
And we go to the turn. The turn is the 10 of spades.
okay.
Yeah, so this is where I think the decision point of the hand came.
Hmm.
So I was thinking about it for like probably a minute and a half. I was going over all the combos in my head, like what they could possibly have, what they
Hmm.
stuck around with, what we beat. So I was just going through the combinations of hands that beat me and hands that I'm ahead of that
Now,
would fold a bet or that
now,
might call a bet.
Bruce. By the way, I will say though too, after c betting 160 and you 3-betting to 80 and having this action 3-betting to 80 pre-flop, I mean, you really only have about a pot size bet left here, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So, I mean, there isn't a whole lot of whatever happens here. Like if it goes check check to you and you bet and you commit yourself, that can't be that bad. Just being like, oh, I'm scared of 10-10
Yeah.
here. you
So
know?
basically, my line of thinking was like, how afraid do we need to be of sets in this spot? Like, if we're ever going to take it over a pair and just go with it,
Hmm.
then I'm thinking this is the spot, right? Like, there's no flush on the board, there's no straight on the board. There's tons of draws out there, which we don't block any of them. We don't hold the king of hearts or spades.
Yeah, and also your hand needs protection too. Like it would be different if it was like aces with the ace of hearts here, where you might start to say, well, I don't want to just blow them out of the water. I'm blocking some of the draws here. Here, the jacks and queens are fully available, and then you've got these other hands that have equity against you that you could also get,
Exactly. All
value
the
from. Yeah.
the combo draws, the turn of the combo draws, like Queen Jack of Hearts or King Jack of Hearts, or the
And I
gut
was just
shots.
specifically saying that the ace of heart, you're not accounting for the ace of hearts in your hand. So does it get checked to you?
Yeah, so it gets checked to me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I end up jamming for 840 effective.
So you're just over a pot size bet.
Yeah, a little bit over a pot size bet.
It's a
And
really, it's a very, very awkward stack size to be here at like 1.1 to 1.2.
exactly.
Because if you went really small here, if you went really
Okay.
small and say like bet like 250 or something like that, I think the mistake that people make with like 1.1 here is going like, say, to an amount that doesn't charge people, and they get so pot stuck that they'll call off the river anyways. So say you bet like 400, right? And then one
Right.
guy
Right.
called. And the pot's like 15, 20, and you've got like 400 left. And I don't know, whatever, a heart came in and the guy jammed from up front, and you're getting like 5-1 at the end and you call anyways. That's the disaster. Because
Right. Exactly.
what you're doing in that case is just giving the guy sort of what I like to say, like reverse pot odds. Well, it wouldn't be reverse pot odds. You're giving him implied odds where he can make these calls because you're not charging him his whole stack, and he knows if he makes his hand, you're going to pay him off.
I'm gonna pay him. He knows I'm never folding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking if I take a smaller bet sizing, I'm probably not gonna fold anyways to a raise or to a river jam.
Well, why?
So I was
What
thinking I
if you
might as
would have
well
bet, say,
go.
like if you went 250 here, and then like one guy called, and now the pot's like 12, and now you've got half a pot size bet left, and then the front door, like a real bad card comes in for you, like the king of, well, I mean, I'm trying to think, like jack of hearts or something like that, right? Or whatever, whatever heart comes in here, eight of hearts. Can you fold then?
I mean, getting the price that I'm, let's say it would have been 1250. I'd be getting 3 to 1. I mean, I would only need to be good 25% of the time, right? If he jams.
Well, that's what all the
So
point that I'm
that's
making is I can see two sides of it. I can seeing small so that you don't commit yourself by the end, or just committing. But the in between
right.
size, I think, is the worst.
Yeah, that
Right?
wouldn't work exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So also on the turn, I was thinking basically, if I go through the combos, let's say there's an equal amount of combos that I beat, like all the overpairs and draws, meaning jacks and queens, and then there's an equal amount of draws. So is the right play to jam in such a spot?
Well, I mean, with none of the cards accounted for on the board, right? There's six
Right,
combos of each pair, so there's six combos of jacks and six combos of queens, right? That's 12.
right.
When you
12.
have a card on the board, there's three combos of sets of each one. So there's 12 jacks and queens, six nines and tens.
And
But
I
then you
was,
have those other draws too, right? You've got
yes, I was
other,
thinking maybe 9-10 suited could be in possible in someone's
I
range, but
mean,
it's
maybe
probably
from
the bottom.
MP1, but
Yeah,
yeah, I don't, I mean, that's, you start to, and then you also look at just something slight too. I would look at the suits of the 9 and the 10. There's three 9-10 suited versus just having two, but I don't really have an issue here. It's very awkward. I don't have an issue. So when it ended up happening?
so basically, the button tanked for like a minute, but
Mm-hmm.
I had a feeling that he's just putting up an act, and he ended up calling.
Oh, because he's got the
And
guy behind him, you mean?
yeah, he tried to rope the other guy in, just call behind him, and then just MP1 just folded
No,
jacks like
no,
fits up.
that's so check this out. So why would that's kind of funny that you say that, right? If everyone's about 1080, and let's say if I'm the button and I turn, say, like 10-10 here or something like that, if me calling is going to be so strong, if I'm the button and I either have 9-9 or 10-10, right? And in me calling your jam is going to be so strong that the guy behind me is going to fold out jacks or queens. It's really stupid for me to just call, right? Just in case that guy does have a combo draw, right?
Right, right, yeah. I mean, he didn't have much more. Like, it was basically the MP1 had like 1500, I think, but the button had just like either about the same size as me or maybe $100 more. So it wasn't
Oh, right, because it's just he's basically calling an all in. I get
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
basically, yeah.
yeah. So
So it
that
wouldn't
would
have been that much more, but I guess he just tried as hard as he can to get the other guy in, but he ended up folding quickly,
So
rather.
what did
Like
he
he
have?
folded
Nine
right away.
nine or 10-10?
So he had 10-10. He turned a set.
Yeah, that's just. I don't really know what you can do here, Bruce.
Yeah.
To be
I mean,
honest
I
with
guess
you,
the money's going in that situation.
it's just an unlucky turn card here. Um,
Yeah.
is it different? What if the turn is a queen or a jack here?
I'd probably be more hesitant than a 10. Like I did think about 10-10 on the turn, but then I was thinking it's just like, it's just like three combos of that, and it's very unlikely.
I mean, the
But
flip side to that though too is if yes, you're concerned about a sets of queen. I mean, maybe sets of queens or sets of jacks a little bit more, although I don't know. Just something to be said is it possible that people might call off with worse now more because they're paired up with a hard draw? You'd have to really. This is one I don't know if Flopzilla does. Yeah, Flopzilla probably does turn play. It's one if you want to like go down the weeds and kind of visualize and stick in all the different ranges and how they interact. You can do that like on Flopzilla, I think,
yeah,
and look at the
I'll
equities.
try that.
I think it's
Yeah,
free
I'll
too, isn't
definitely
it?
try that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
I
that.
mean, it's interesting to note whether a 10, a jack, or a queen is better or worse for you if you plug in all the ranges
It makes a
with
difference.
the draws. And if 10-10 always calls pre, then it probably doesn't make as much a difference, right? Because they're all there, the sets, and then it's just how does it interact with the
Yeah.
draws and which ones give more equity.
I was thinking maybe queens on the button might consider four betting pre-flop. He
Hmm.
just snap called a three bet too, so it's actually nines or tens made a lot of sense as played.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, just a tough one.
yeah, it's a tough spot. All
Walk it
right,
off. Did you reload?
yeah, I reloaded and I made everything back. I ended up cashing out $200 win, so it worked out.
Yeah, that's interesting. Someone in the live chat said if you check and the button bets. I mean, I guess if you check and the button bets and the under the gun goes with it or calls again, I guess you could fold. I
Yeah,
guess
but
that's
but I
button
was
jams.
thinking then at what point do you just take it over pair and go with it? There's always that threat of someone having a set, right?
Right, and you
So
don't want it to get
like, how do
checked.
you make that decision?
Well,
Like,
I mean,
at what
you don't want it to get checked through. Usually, you don't want to give off free cards that have
Right,
equity against
exactly.
you.
So
So,
if I'm always going to be afraid of sets, like,
yeah,
like why do you ever play aces, right? The guy could always
right,
flop a set against you. Like that's
yeah,
that's
no,
where I'm having some.
no, absolutely. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much,
Okay,
Bruce.
thank you so much. Thank you for taking my
All right.
call. Take care.